In this video, I'm going to show you how to accept a Termageddon license and generate your website policies. Please note this is not legal advice, Termageddon is not a legal service provider, and this video is provided for informational purposes only. The first step to accessing your Termageddon license after it has been shared with you is to go to your email inbox and look for an email from Termageddon. The subject line will be titled, "You've been invited to join Termageddon." This email most likely is in your inbox, but every now and then it does land in spam, so be sure to check out your spam folder just in case. Open up the email and click the Set Your Termageddon Password button. Upon clicking the password button, you'll be brought to a form to register your Termageddon account. Go ahead and fill out this information about yourself. Enter a password. And how did you hear about us? You can name your web developer here or whoever shared the license with you if you'd like. Agree to the privacy policy, terms and conditions, and disclaimer, and click Register. Now you've been brought into your Termageddon account, and there's a big purple View License Invite button. Go ahead and click that button, and click the Accept button. You now have access to your Termageddon license, and in the following steps, I'm going to show you how to generate your website policies with Termageddon. The next step will be to create your global license information questions. And if you currently see a Continue Setup button, you'll want to click that. If you do not see a Continue Setup button, chances are your questionnaire has already been pre-answered, and you'll want to click the license link on the left-hand side, and then you'll want to click the purple Edit button on the following page to be brought to the same page that we are about to visit. So I'm going to click the Continue Setup button because it was available for me. And whether you were brought here by clicking Continue Setup or the purple Edit button, this is a review of your global license information, which are general questions about your business. Go ahead and fill out this questionnaire. For this example, we're going to say that this is for a website. I'm going to put in the website name here. Who owns the website? Because I'm a company, I'll list my company name, and I will enter the company name here. Where was the company formed? For this example, I'll say that it was formed in Delaware in the United States, and that it's a limited liability company. Where would you like to resolve disputes? This question is intended to bring people to your turf if there were ever an issue, rather than you having to go to their turf. So make sure to put a location that's most convenient for you. Since I'm located in Chicago, I'm going to put Illinois, and I will list Cook County. And then what is the email that users can use to contact you? I'm going to put a generic email here. Please note that this email will be disclosed in your website policies, so you want to make sure to put an email that you have access to and you're comfortable listing in your website policy pages. And upon completing this information, you'll want to click Save, and you will be brought to your Global License Information dashboard page for your Termageddon license. In the following videos, I will be showing you how to generate your website policies or review the pre-answered questionnaires that were shared with you. If your web developer shared a Termageddon license with you and pre-answered some questions within your privacy policy questionnaire, you should see a purple box titled Privacy Policy, and what you'll need to do is click Edit Policy Details to review the questions and make sure everything is answered correctly. If you do not see the Privacy Policy box, you will then see a gray Add Policy box, and that's the flow that we will follow, but we will all be brought to the same page whether you click Edit Policy Details or start the process by clicking the gray Add Policy box. So if you do have a privacy policy box, click Edit Policy Details, but if you do not, that's no problem. Click the gray Add Policy box, and let's start by filling out the Privacy Policy Questionnaire. So go ahead and click Privacy Policy, and you are now brought into your Privacy Policy Questionnaire. The first page of the Privacy Policy Questionnaire is intended to help you figure out what privacy laws apply to you. And based on how you answer page 1, this will dictate the remainder of the questions, as we only ask the questions needed to provide the disclosures that are required under each privacy law you need to comply with. I do want to remind you, Termageddon is not a legal service provider, and as I walk you through this questionnaire, I want you to note that this is not legal advice. This is for informational purposes only. All right, so for this example, we're going to say that this license is for a website that does business throughout the US, Canada, UK, Ireland, Australia, really anywhere for that matter, offering, let's say, online courses. So do you do business in any of the US states? Well, since I could transact really anywhere, I'm going to select all states for this example. And do you collect the personal information of residents of any US states? I'm going to select all as well. As a good example here would be someone in Wisconsin submitting a form or making a purchase through my website. Do you have annual gross revenues of more than $25 million? No. Do you annually buy, receive, sell, or share the personal information of 50,000 or more California consumers, households, or devices? No. Do you derive 50% or more of your annual revenue from selling the personal information of California consumers? No. And do your vendors or clients require you to comply with the California Consumer Privacy Act? I'm going to also put no. All 4 of these questions will populate if you say yes to doing business in California on page 1 and you're a for-profit entity. If you say yes to any one of these, this will require the California Consumer Privacy Act disclosures, but since I wrote no to all of them, I will not be answering those particular questions. Do you offer goods or services to residents of the European Union or United Kingdom? I'm going to say yes. Do you monitor the behavior of residents of the United Kingdom or the European Economic Area? This is a good example with like Google Analytics. Because I, in theory, could get traffic from there, I'm going to say yes. And do you offer goods or services to residents of the United Kingdom? I'll say yes as well. And then do you monitor the behavior of residents of the United Kingdom? I'm going to go ahead and say yes to that as well. Do you collect the personal information of Canadians? Just like that example I gave earlier with the Wisconsin example, I have an e-commerce website and I would welcome a transaction from Canada, so I'm going to say yes to that. And do you collect the personal information of Australians? I'm going to go ahead and say yes to that, and that I do business in Australia. Now, if you answered yes or no to these questions based on your own business, they may or may not match how I filled out this questionnaire. But I filled out this questionnaire so that in this tutorial, you will see all the possible questions you're going to see that Termageddon asks. So when you move on to the following pages, if you do not see the questions that you see within this tutorial, not to worry. It's just because you don't have to make those particular disclosures. So this completes page 1 of the Privacy Policy Questionnaire, and I'm going to click Next now and be brought to the next page. Page 2 of the Privacy Policy Questionnaire is all about helping you identify the pieces of personal information your website is collecting, what you're doing with that information, and possibly additional details that are required under the privacy laws you're looking to provide disclosures for that you identified on page 1. So to use this page properly, work with the left-hand side first. So on the left-hand side, you want to identify all the pieces of personal information your website collects. And because most websites have a contact form on the contact page, that's where I'll start with this example. So in my example, I'll say that I have a contact form on my contact page asking people to submit their name, email, and phone number. So I have selected on the left-hand side, name, email, phone number. In this example, I also have Google Analytics installed, so I will select that I may collect IP address, device information, and scroll on down to information regarding your interactions with the website. I also may run social media or search engine advertisements in the future where I drive traffic to my website and track the users that are visiting us from the ads I'm running. If I plan to do that, I'm also going to select that I may collect information regarding your interactions with advertisements. Now, in this example, I mentioned that this is an e-commerce website selling online courses. And because I'm not actually shipping anything, I will not select shipping address, but I will select billing address. And because I'm using a third-party website to process the transactions, I'm not actually collecting the credit card information. It's the third-party transactor that's collecting it. I will not select that I'm collecting the credit card information. Okay, so now that you've identified all the pieces of personal information that your website's collecting through forms and behind the scenes like tracking pixels and analytics, I'm now on a per item basis going to discuss what I need to do or what I do with that information. So I'll start here with name. I'm going to click the edit button and I see on the right hand side, I'm now filling out information for name. And under purposes, I'm going to say that I collect name for the purposes of performing service and customer service to cover the form I have on the website. And since I may send marketing newsletters to the person sometime in the future, I'll say that I collect it for marketing and advertising purposes. And I'm also going to select that I may ask people to participate in surveys or contests. Maybe I'll ask people to provide us feedback or something like that in the future. And in this example, I mentioned it's an e-commerce website, so I will say that I collect this information for the purposes of processing payments and processing or fulfilling orders. And I will also select that I may collect name to enforce our terms of service and verify customer information is two general catch-alls. An example being that you may use someone's name if there's an issue with their relationship to you in the website. So I would address them by name, thus enforcing my terms of service. And verifying customer information example would be a customer fills out the form on the website and I address them by their name, or maybe I need them to verify their account by confirming their name. Again, those two are general catch-alls. Now that I've identified all the purposes for why I collect name, I'm going to minimize that section, and then I'm going to go to the next section. I see that I'm asked to provide the source of the information. You may not see this. Again, this is all just dependent on how you answer page 1 of the privacy policy questionnaire. Since I have this, I have to answer it. And how do I collect? What's the source for how I collect name? Well, this is information submitted by the consumer because someone somewhere had to take the time to type out their name and submit it to me for me to receive their name. I'm now going to minimize that and go to the next section. What's the legal basis under which you process the information? And I'm going to say that the users provided consent to the processing of their information, and that processing is necessary to perform a contract with the user to cover the fact that they filled out the form on my contact page or possibly made a transaction on the website. And then do I share this data with third parties? I'm going to say yes. Data gets shared quite often, especially things like name. And I'll start this off with the fact that when a form gets submitted on a website, that typically triggers an email that gets sent to the business owner's email address with the contact's details. Therefore, the website is sharing data with email service providers, because that is your inbox, assuming you didn't build your own, assuming you didn't develop your own inbox. So we'll say that we share this data with email service providers to manage our interactions with them. And because I may upload names to my email marketing solution, I will say that we may collect or we may share this data with email marketing vendors to market to you via email. That's like Constant Contact, HubSpot, Active Campaign, stuff like that. And in this example, I'll say that I have a WordPress website, and WordPress websites often store backups of form submissions in the back end of the website, just as a preventative measure in case you never received the lead. So I will say that we may share this data with our content management system, aka WordPress, to manage our interactions with them. And that we may have third-party web developers accessing the back end of the website, so technically they may be able to see that data as well. So we'll want to select that we may share this data with parties that need to operate the website, as well as hosting providers to manage our interactions with you. I'm also going to select that we may share this data with financial transaction processors to process transactions. And then last but not least, if you have a customer management system, otherwise known as a CRM, some examples are HubSpot or Salesforce. If you are using a CRM, you'll want to select that you may share this data with your CRM. This covers how I see most people sharing names. So I'm going to now minimize this and I'm going to complete this piece of information and I'll be brought down to the next incomplete option. And I'm going to skip on down to email address and by clicking the edit button on the left hand side, and you'll see I'm now editing the email address. And why do we collect email? Well, I collect it for the same reasons why I'm collecting name, to provide you with services, customer service, and so forth. Now I'm going to skip on up to why do we collect phone number, and I'm going to load up all the same answers we did for name. And then I'm going to go to billing address, and I'm going to load up all the same answers we did for name as well. A handful of people will not actually share data like billing address with like third-party like customer management systems and so forth. So you can, open this up and unselect those items. But for this example, I'm going to keep it simple and just keep it as name. All right, upon completing that information, I'm brought to the IP address. Now, IP address gets collected all the time. It gets collected usually with form submissions. So I'm going to load up all the answers we already did for name because IP address usually gets collected behind the scenes to prevent like spammers from filling out forms and stuff like that. Then I'm going to select this again and click None, so that I can customize this particular section because IP address also gets collected for additional reasons, such as analytics. If you're using like a Google Analytics or another type of analytics tool, it also may be collected to count ad impressions and verify position and quality of ad impressions to cover any sort of social media or search engine marketing you're doing. And then we may also collect IP address to protect against malicious, deceptive, fraudulent, or illegal activity. So I'm going to select that as well. I'm now going to minimize this section, go to the next section. What's the source for how you collect IP address? Well, this is not information submitted by the consumer because no one ever takes the time to fill out a form and type out their IP address. That never really happens. IP address is collected behind the scenes through tracking pixels and the use of cookies. What's the legal basis under which you process the information? I'll just leave this as the users provided consent to the processing of their information. And what categories of third parties do you share this information with? I'm going to select advertising networks to provide you with ads. I'm going to scroll down and click social networks to provide you with ads. And these two will cover any sort of social search engine or social media marketing that you do, where you're paying ads and bringing traffic to your website and tracking those users on your site. Next, I'm going to say that I may share this data with data analytics providers to analyze your interactions with our website, and that would cover sharing data with a tool like Google Analytics. Now that I've completed this piece of information, I'm going to minimize this section, click Complete Information. Why do I collect device information? I'm going to load up the same answers we did for IP address. Complete it. And brings us down. Why do you collect information regarding your interactions with the website? I'm going to load up all the answers we did to IP address. And then why do we collect information regarding your interactions with advertisements? I'm going to load up the same reasons why we collect IP address. All right, now that we've answered all the items on the left-hand side and selected all the answers, and again, these are all based on what privacy laws you need to comply with on page 1 that were identified. Now that I've completed all that, I do have one final question on this page. Are you required to collect some or all of this personal information by an Australian law, court order, or tribunal order? I'm going to select no, which is the popular answer, but I just want to remind you that each question has a question mark that you can click on that will provide you more information on each and every question. All right, so we have finalized page 2 of the Privacy Policy Questionnaire, and we will now head into page 3, which are answering the remaining questions. The final pages of the Privacy Policy Questionnaire are a series of questions that need to be answered in order to provide the disclosures required under the privacy laws that you answered on page 1. So the next question in this tutorial is, do you collect and use cookies? And because I have a WordPress website, I'm going to say yes. And another good reason is because I use Google Analytics, I'm going to say yes. So upon clicking yes, um, based on how we answered page 1 of the privacy policy questionnaire, it, we get an alert here saying that we need to add a cookie consent solution to the website. Now there are several options we provide here where you can go to and use for your own website. And I will note that Termageddon will be launching its own cookie consent solution powered by User-Centrics, one of the most popular, if not the most popular cookie consent solution in the world. We'll be launching that in 2022, and it will be included in all Termageddon licenses. But for the time being, there are some links we provide, which will bring you to some free options in the meantime. The next question is, do you collect information from children under the age of 18? No, I'm certainly not targeting children with my website. And then, do you sell any of the information you collected? I'm going to say no here. How long do you store the information provided? Most people say until we no longer need the information to contact you or after you unsubscribe from emails. Do you use the information for direct marketing? I'll say yes to this because I know I sent email marketing. Do you use the information you collected for automated decision making? This is a more advanced question. You can always click the question mark if you need more clarification. But if you do any sort of automated decision making, you can click yes here and enter in all the logic associated with your automated decision making. But most companies are not doing this high level stuff. This is, a good example is if you're like buying social security numbers and credit scores to pre-approve people for a loan or something like that. But again, you can always click the question mark to see more information. And similar to that question, do you use the information you collected for profiling? Most businesses are not profiling people, so I'm going to say no to this example. The next question, how do you protect the personal information that you collect? This is the one question where I really like making sure to underpromise and overdeliver, meaning that I'm only going to select the items that I know I 100% do, because that will be what's disclosed within your privacy policy, and you just want to make sure you're abiding to your privacy policy. So how do you protect the personal information that you collect? I'm going to say that I limit the amount of personal information I collect to strictly necessarily only, because I'm not asking for anything crazy on my website. I'm only asking for the basics. And I'm also going to select that I use an SSL certificate. Most websites these days use an SSL certificate, and you can confirm this by visiting your website and looking in the top URL area to see if there's a nice little lock screen confirming you have an SSL certificate. And then last but not least, I'm going to select maintaining up-to-date software and safeguards, because in this example, I'm going to assume that I have a third-party web developer that's providing me ongoing maintenance and care for my website and keeping everything up to date. For all the other items in this example, I'm going to say no. And that means that for the next question, would you like to include links to your policies, procedures, standards, or codes in your privacy policy? I'll say no as well. Do you use Google Analytics? We confirmed that is yes earlier in this tutorial. And now I'm going to click next. On the next page, it asks, does your website or application contain links to third-party websites? Yes, social media links. Maybe I have a resources page that provides third-party links. It's very common when a company has a website offering third-party links. Does the website respond to do not track signals? I'm going to say no to this, which is our recommended answer. Unless you've heard of do not track signals and have taken the time to implement that feature, I would go with our recommended answer, which is no. This is a pretty obscure privacy law from a long time ago that no one really implemented. So always remember, we do offer these question marks so you can see more information. Now, the next 5 questions are all based around a fundamental concept, which is, do you want to offer privacy rights to the people that have those rights or to anyone that visits your website regardless of the location? And if I so may, I like putting everyone. Everyone gets the same privacy rights, because I think this does 2 things for a business. Number 1, it sends a message in your privacy policy that you're choosing to treat people equally by maximizing everyone's privacy rights, and I think that's a pretty cool statement to make in a privacy policy. But also, I think it makes a business owner's life easier, because if someone were to exercise their data privacy rights, you, the business owner, don't have to look up where this person's located and what specific rights they have. Rather, you can just be a good person and delete all their data. So I like putting everyone here, but you can read each question mark and see what this all means, and go from there and just make whatever decision's best for your business. What information will the consumer need to provide to verify their identity for requests to exercise their rights? I'm going to put name and email because, yeah, if you can confirm your name and email, that's enough to say you are who you say you are for my business. How will you notify users of changes to this privacy policy? Our most popular answer is by posting the updated privacy policy to this website, because that's the service we provide. Who should the user contact to exercise their data privacy rights? I'm going to put myself here. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. In this example, we did Ron Swanson. Make him the president. And then you have to list a phone number. And I will note, if you are seeing this, that means that you do need to provide these disclosures. So a lot of people, are working from home these days, and I understand you may not want to put like your address, for example. You can put like NA here. You can just do like NA if you're not going to list your address. I will note that we require this to be answered because it is required. It's a required disclosure under whatever respective privacy law you're seeking to comply with. If you're seeing this field, you do need to answer it. So I'm just going to put in some fake information here. For this tutorial, you should certainly put in the correct information for your website or for your business. And I will note in this area where it says web page, I put my contact URL just so people know how they can contact me. Where do you process the data? Since I'm located in Illinois, that's where I'm going to put. Do you have a data protection officer? No, I have not employed a data protection officer. Do you subscribe to any Australian privacy codes? I do not. Do you participate in an Australian external privacy dispute resolution scheme? No, I do not. Do you combine or link other personal information that you hold about an individual? I'll say yes to that because in this example, I said I have a customer management system where I kind of consolidate all my customer information into one place. Do you intend to transfer data outside of Canada and or the United Kingdom and or the European Union and or the European Economic Area and or Australia or to an international organization? I'm going to say yes to the United States because that's where I'm located in. And this is an example, since I have a website, I'm a US based, and I get a transaction from someone in Canada. Well, that means technically I'm taking data from Canada and bringing it to the United States. And that's why yes is a very popular answer. Who is accountable for your privacy practices and policies? This is yet another required disclosure. And for this, I'm just going to click copy from my previous answer to load up all these answers. We have now completed the final pages and thus the entire privacy policy questionnaire. Again, this was a very extensive privacy policy questionnaire as we were seeking to comply with quite a few international and US privacy laws. So my next step is to click submit. And that will bring me to the embed code page, which we'll be discussing in the next section. So go ahead and click submit. Now that you've generated your privacy policy, you will need to embed the embed code into the body of your privacy policy page on your website. And if you're doing this yourself, you can click the instructions area right here to learn how to embed the codes on popular platforms like WordPress, Squarespace, Shopify, and more. If you are using a third-party web developer, you will want to click Users on the left-hand side. And then inside there is a purple Share button, and you'll be able to enter the email address of your web developer and share that license with your web developer. Whenever you share a license with someone, they will receive an automated email alerting them that they've been issued access to your license, but it might be nice to also just send them an email letting them know that you shared the license with them. One final note, make sure that you use the embed code for your privacy policy, and that's it for your privacy policy page. A lot of people try to put all of their policies on one web page, which is considered non-compliant, and you can learn more about why that is the case by clicking the Here's Why link, which will take you to an article. But simply put, you want to put one embed code per policy page. So this embed code for the privacy policy would go onto the privacy policy embed code page. Last but not least, I will note that you do have the ability to override your policy. Overriding a policy means that you're going to be customizing that section of a particular policy to have it say whatever you wish it to say. If you customize your policy, we will no longer be able to automatically update it, but we'll still notify you when changes are required for that particular section and provide you copy to review to consider using with whatever you previously customized it to be. This completes the privacy policy questionnaire, and in the next section, I'll be showing you how to create a terms of service. In this section of the tutorial, we will be creating a terms of service. Now, users may be at different parts of our dashboard. Perhaps you just followed this tutorial and completed creating your privacy policy. Technically, you can just go to policies on the left-hand side and be brought to the same location I'm going to bring all users to. But for the sake of simplicity for us all, I'm going to say go ahead and click dashboard at the top. And under licenses, click your license. And now you're in your license dashboard. If you have not created a terms of service yet, you will not have a terms of service box yet. But if you do see a terms of service box, this is a privacy policy box example. If you see one of these boxes and it says terms of service, go ahead and click edit policy details. If you, however, have not created a terms of service yet, you can do so by clicking the gray add policy box and then clicking terms of service. The first question of the Terms of Service questionnaire is to see if you offer an e-commerce component to your website. In this tutorial, we're going to say yes. However, if you do not offer e-commerce, you can skip to the next section in this video and select no here and click next. Again, for this example, we'll be saying yes. And we know that we offer digital products in this example because we were talking about online courses. And the pricing is listed on the website for this example. And does this price include taxes and other fees? I'm going to say yes to because all fees are disclosed before checkout is completed. And do I work with individual consumers or businesses or both? I'm going to select both for this example. And can users make purchases right on the website? I will say yes, and that a third party is the processor of the transaction. And for this example, I will say PayPal. What payment methods are accepted? I will select all the major debit and credit cards. And are buyers able to cancel their purchase prior to download? I am going to say no, as that helps protect me. And then, do you want to reserve the right to cancel the customer's purchase? I would say yes to this example, just in case, for whatever reason, I don't want to provide my product to a particular person. And I'll say that I have the right to cancel their purchase prior to them downloading the product. And that I would notify them immediately if I were to cancel their purchase, and I would issue them a full refund if I were to cancel their purchase. Upon clicking next, I'm brought to some more questions about the e-commerce component of my website. And the next question is, do you offer refunds? I'm going to say no here, as that helps protect me. And if I ever do have someone that asks for a refund and has a compelling reason, I will just give them a refund in this example. Do you ask your customers to provide an advance payment? No. Do you ask your customers to provide a deposit? No. Do you offer a warranty on the items or services that you display? Most people say no here, but you can say yes and say they will be of satisfactory quality or something like that. What remedies are available to the purchasers? Because this is an online course, I'm just going to say none. And I'll click next. Now I'm brought to the subscription area of the website. And since I have an e-commerce website, we ask the question, do you offer subscriptions? Most people say no here, but if you do offer a subscription, it's important to select yes, and then discuss the terms. I'm going to say that I have a monthly plan or a yearly plan. So I write out 1 month or 1 year. Does the subscription renew automatically? I'll say yes, every 1 month or every 1 year. depending on your subscription plan. And how can the customer cancel the automated renewals? I'll say through the website as well as email, and I'll put info at my domain name. How much notice must the customer give of cancellation prior to the automated renewal date? I like to put like a day or two just so that I can go in and cancel prior to the automatic renewal occurring. But if they can do this through their account within the website, you may just want to select immediately. Can a customer rescind their subscription, meaning that they've signed up for a subscription and like within a few days they're just like not happy about it and they don't want to offer it, or they don't want to continue with the subscription? You can say yes, which you can give them even a refund if they have like buyer's remorse. But in this example, I will say no. I will note there are some consumer laws where you may be required to say yes, so just keep that in mind, and you can always click the question mark if you'd like to learn more. Is there a minimum purchase that the customer must make for the subscription? I'm going to say no. I don't require any like upfront payment to get the subscription going. And do you offer a free trial? I'm also going to say no to. This completes the e-commerce and subscription area of the Terms of Service questionnaire. And upon clicking next, we'll be brought into the final questions for the Terms of Service. The final page of the Terms of Service questionnaire are a series of questions that, when answered, will help generate a Terms of Service that will be intended to help limit your liability as a business owner or person. So for the first question, can users create accounts? Most people say no here. However, if you have an e-commerce component, that's a really good example of when you need to say yes, because people will have an account where they can manage their e-commerce transactions. How can a user terminate an account? This depends on just how your website's set up, but most people select both of these options by contacting us and through the website. Can users make comments or create content on your website? I'm going to say yes here. And then there are certain types of content that's prohibited from being posted. A really good example of comments is if you have like a blog area where people can make comments on your website. Now, as for comments I want to prohibit, I'm going to select all these items. And feel free to read through each one and decide if you want to prohibit that, for whether or not you want to prohibit it from being on your website or not. Does your website contain links to third-party websites? Yes, my social media links are a really good example. Maybe I have a resources area with third-party links. Third-party links is very commonly yes. In what year did you publish your website? I'll select 2021 with the idea that I'm about to launch my new website. Who should the user contact if they believe you're infringing on the intellectual property or that someone else is infringing on your intellectual property? This is almost always the business owner. So I'll put in our fake business owner name and details here. Now, you will see that we ask people to provide a phone number and address. This is because, I'm going to write this out real quick. So this is because this is a requirement under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. So we are asking this particular question to provide what is known as a DMCA notice, which more or less says, please let us know if we are using any material that's not our property on our website and providing all this information. A DMCA notice, to be complete, has to include a phone number and address. However, if for any reason you do not want to include your address, you can put NA here, but I will note that that would then be an incomplete DMCA notice. So something you need to balance out, especially if you're like, just getting going with your business, you're working from home or something like that. Do you subscribe to an industry or trade code of conduct? Most people say no here. If you are a part of an association or trade code of conduct that you have to comply with, you can list the names here. A really popular example is like real estate agents. They have to subscribe to the National Association of Realtors here in the United States. So you would type in National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics and put a link to that Code of Ethics. But again, for this example, we will say no. How will you notify users of changes to this terms of service? For this example, we'll say by posting the updated terms of service to this website, as that's the service Termageddon provides, and that we will provide no immediate notice of any changes. And now that your terms of service questionnaire is fully answered, go ahead and click the Submit button. Upon clicking Submit on your terms of service questionnaire, you will be brought to the embed code page. The embed code is what needs to be copied and pasted into the body of your terms of service page. And if you're doing this yourself, you can click Here are instructions, which will provide instructions on how to implement the code on popular platforms such as WordPress, Squarespace, Shopify, and more. You want to make sure to put this terms of service embed code on its own separate page, and that is due to compliance reasons, and we provide an article as to why right here. Last but not least, if you're using a web developer to implement the codes into your website, you can click the Users tab on the left-hand side and share the license with your developer by clicking the Share License button, entering the developer's email address, and then clicking Share License again. An automated email will be sent to the web developer if you do this, letting them know they now have access to your license, but it's also nice to just send a separate email to your web developer letting them know they can now access your policies. And on a final note, I will note that we have an override policy feature. When you click that, this is a section that will allow you to customize any section of your terms of service to have it say whatever you wish it to say. If you customize a section of your terms of service, we will no longer automatically update that section since you customized it, but we'll still notify you when we have recommended new changes with suggested new copy for you to consider. This completes the terms of service generator and completes this tutorial. I'm always around if you have any questions. You can email me, hans@termageddon.com, HANS@termageddon.com if you have any questions. And thank you so much for choosing us to be your website policy generator provider. And yeah, thank you for your business. Reach out anytime.